Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Thursday, August 15th, 2024. I am Dave Biddle, flying solo on today's show. Is today the day, my friends? Is today the day Ryan Day is going to name QB1? The Buckeyes are practicing right now. They just started practice. Practice is not open to the media, obviously. I would have done this show early this morning or pre-recorded it last night. But practice is not open, but at 11:30 a.m. today after practice, we will meet with Ryan Day. And I have a feeling he might name QB1. We'll get to that in a moment. We're also going to interview Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles. So big day, Ryan Day, and both coordinators after practice today. So a lot of great stuff to get into. Appreciate you guys joining me. Want to let you guys know about our excellent sponsor, HelloFresh. And it cracks me up because I've been a customer for 5 or 6 years, HelloFresh. They've been delivering boxes to our door every month for the last 5 or 6 years, and it's fantastic. We all know home-cooked meals are so much better for you, but you don't always have the time to pull it off. But with HelloFresh handling all the meal planning, shopping, and most of the prep, it's easier than ever to get dinner on the table quick and painless. With HelloFresh, everything you need to make delicious meals comes right to your door, pre-portioned and fresh. Plus, the included step-by-step recipe cards make cooking simple. For example, recently I made a Parmesan-crusted chicken dinner with mashed potatoes and carrots. It was delicious. My wife and I loved it. Youngest daughter loved it. Oldest daughter gets home. There's some leftovers. She gobbles it down. She's like, "This is really good. When did mom make this?" I was like, "I made it." She's like, seriously?" I'm like, "I really did." And so there you go. Even I can do it. And it tasted fantastic. For free breakfast for life, go to HelloFresh.com/free Bucknuts. That means you get one free breakfast item per box while your subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life just by going to HelloFresh.com/free Bucknuts. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. All right, who's going to be Ohio State's #1 quarterback? We know about who is America's #1 meal kit. Who's going to be QB1? I'm pretty sure it's going to be Will Howard. I think you guys are probably leaning that way as well. And is Ryan Day going to announce it today? I don't know for sure. Nothing would surprise me. Neither one would surprise me. I'm leaning toward yes. Because I don't think he wants to wait to the week of the game. I'm not sure if we're meeting with him next week. We might be. So he might push it into next week, but we're not meeting with him on Monday. This coming Monday, I thought might be perfect if we were meeting with him because they have the scrimmage on Saturday. So he might push it into next week. But I think, he almost let the cat out of the bag last week when we met with him when he said, Will Howard has complete command of the offense. Not something you say about a quarterback who, is not in line to be your starter. So I think I'll go with more likely than not, more than a 50% chance. I'll use a legal term there. More likely than not that he will name a starting quarterback today. But again, it won't surprise me if he pushes it into next week. I do not think he's going to push it to the week of the Akron game. Not that it's anything to do with Akron. Really wouldn't matter. But I definitely think he wants to have name a starter by next week at the very latest. So I think it's going to be today, my friends. I think it'll be today. I think it'll be Will Howard. And it's interesting. I mean, I'm just thrilled that all 5 of these scholarship quarterbacks are here with Devin Brown and Julian Sand and Lincoln Keenholz and Aaron Noland. We have a couple questions about Aaron Noland that I'll get to a little bit later. If you have any questions, it's going to be hard for me to get to them now, but I have a couple in the hopper. Got a ton of stuff to talk about. I want to get into let's do this as a group exercise, our expectations for Will Howard this year. If he is QB1. And, let's statistically, I think he needs at least, I kept this at a pretty round number. I went 3,000, 30, and 300. What does that mean? At least 3,000 passing yards, which he has not done in his career, but, playing at Kansas State, he only had 1 year where he even had 12 games, and that was last year, and still had about 2,500 passing yards. So I think we're including the entire season, not just the regular season. I think he'll get at least 3,000 passing yards, at least 30 touchdowns, and at least 300 rushing yards. 3,000 passing yards, 30 passing touchdowns, 300 rushing yards, and then mix in, at least 3 rushing touchdowns, probably more than that to keep the 3 theme going. So again, 3,000 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 300 rushing yards at the minimum, right? And then completion percentage. Career 58.8% at Kansas State. Last year was his best, 61.2%. got to get that up to like 65%. So around 65%, which I think he'll do definitely. He's going to be playing in a Ryan Day / Chip Kelly offense. His top 4 wide receivers are going to be Emeka Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and Brandon Ennis. His top 2 running backs, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. And he's got a nice deep tight end room with G. Scott starting and some other nice pieces there. Offensive line, I'm cautiously optimistic about. The point is he's got a stacked wide receiver room to throw to. He can run. The running backs, probably the best 1-2 punch in the country. And I can't stress enough, a Ryan Day / Chip Kelly offense. So I think Will Howard's going to have a big year. Now, I put down second team All Big Ten. Again, this is our minimum expectations. What does Will Howard need to do to take this team where they need to be? Not what is his ceiling. His ceiling to me is first team All Big Ten. But I'll go with second team All Big Ten because Dillon Gabriel right now, the Athletic just came out with their All-American team, and Ohio State led the way. They have 4 guys on the first team All-American. Well, the Athletic picked Dillon Gabriel, first team All-American quarterback, over Carson Beck, who is second team. So pretty much everybody is picking Dillon Gabriel from Oregon to be the best quarterback in the Big Ten. You also have Miller Moss at USC and a few others, but Drew Aller, I know Phil Steele picked Drew Aller as second team All Big Ten, and he had Will Howard third. I think second team All Big Ten for Will Howard is very reasonable expectations, and I won't be surprised if he's first team. I won't be surprised if he ends up being first team over Dillon Gabriel. We shall see. So there you go. I think we're going to have an announcement today, but I wouldn't bet a lot of money on it though. Makes for interesting theater today. I thought about reaching out to some sources inside the building and say, should I have a story ready? But I don't want to bug those guys. They've been on pretty much lockdown this week, which I love. I mean, they've been giving us a lot of media availability with open practices, and even when practices aren't open, interviews with coaches and players, like later today, for example. But this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you'll notice they were on lockdown. There was nothing. So they really hunkered down this week. They're still at the hotel. These, the scrimmage this past Saturday, this week, the scrimmage Saturday, that's like real camp. Those 8 days, Saturday to Saturday. That's real camp for you. So it's pretty exciting. We are Craig Krenzel days away from the opener. 16 days away from the opener. Should I say Mason Maggs Day away from the opener? Keenan Allen Jr. days away from the opener. Let's just go with Craig Krenzel days away from the opener. He's got to be the most famous 16 to don that number. And I think, is Will Howard going to be the first 18? We know Devin Brown was the first 33 to start a game at quarterback for Ohio State. Is Will Howard going to be the first 18? I'm trying to think. Was Tupa 18? Or was Tupa 19? Tupa might have been 19. Tom Zach wore 18 in the NFL, but Tom Zach wore 15 at Ohio State. Beckman wore 17. I'm trying to think of an 18. We had an 18 at quarterback. Have we had an 18 at quarterback? J-Book is probably like on a private island somewhere. We'll have J-Book tomorrow. Today's Thursday. Dan and I moved some things away, moved some things around. Zach Domicone days away. There you go. Get a little Beaver Creek mention in there. So J-Book will be with me tomorrow. Dan and Ruben and I had to move some things around. So there you go. What time is the press conference? 11:30 a.m. 11:30 a.m. roughly is the press conference. We'll see. And then again, we're going to get Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles after we get Ryan Day. So I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty awesome. I think that's pretty awesome. Rick on Facebook, Dave, what questions will you throw at Ryan Day? Well, quarterback. Obviously, let's just get that. I have the first question. Let's just cut to the chase. Is he going to announce anything, or is he going to push it? I wish we had more than. Hopefully, Jerry allows us to ask more than one question, or maybe more than just one follow-up. Because I also want to ask about special teams. There's been very little about special teams. How are things going with the not having a special teams coordinator, taking Jim Tressel's advice, having the position coaches all pitch in, have like James Laurinaitis with his linebackers. He's going to help out with he's going to be in charge of. I'm not saying this is what James is. This is just an example. James Laurinaitis might be in charge of kickoff coverage, right? And then you might have Tim Walton might be in charge of punt coverage or whatever it might be. Brian Hartline's in charge of punt return, things like that. How is that going? And then, who's going to be the return guys? If you guys had a game right now, who's your punt returner? Who's your backup punt returner? Who you have back there as your kickoff returners? How important is it for you to have some explosion there? It's like Ohio State's been arrogant, in my opinion, with their return game the last few years. Like, oh, we're Ohio State. We don't need to return the punts, and we're going to score regardless. Like, you can't have that attitude. You just can't have that attitude. I mean, now, if you win a national championship and you're blowing teams out, maybe the next year you can have that attitude. I still wouldn't like it. Get as many yards as possible. Give yourself the best chance to win. I understand ball security. You don't want to sacrifice ball security, but you need to be more explosive than they have been. So I'm curious about special teams. Who's going to be the punter? Think it'll be Anthony Veneri, just the little I've seen. McLarty, the big kid from Australia, can boom it. It's such a small sample size when we're out there watching. We haven't seen them, do a ton of punting, but I've seen McLarty shank a few. Not a lot, but he also has the strongest leg. I think it'll be Anthony Veneri, who transferred in for Buffalo, who has 2 years of starting under his belt and was pretty good at Buffalo. Not great, but pretty solid. Got 2 years left. Started for 2 years at Buffalo. So I think it'll be Anthony Veneri. So you have a Canada versus Australia battle. Veneri is from Canada, Ontario, Canada, not far from, where he went to college previously at Buffalo. And then, of course, McLarty from Australia. And then the other guy in the mix is Joe McGuire from Australia. So 2 Aussies and a Canadian walk into a bar. Let you guys finish that joke. All right. So, yeah, I think we might have the first number 18 playing quarterback for the Buckeyes. I think Will Howard, I believe he said he's a big Peyton Manning guy. I think that's why he likes the 18. So Devin Brown's a Sammy Baugh guy with a 33. Will Howard's a Peyton Manning guy, and Julian Sand is a Troy Smith guy, Rex Kern guy with the 10. I just made that up, but did get the picture with Will Howard, Julian Sand, and Troy Smith all together at the Foundation's awesome event last month. That was really cool seeing those 3 together and getting a picture of them. And regarding all of the quarterbacks, let's get to some of the questions. I like what Dan Rubin said on the most recent show I did with Dan, that I don't know how it's going to turn out with all 5 of these guys, but I'm pretty convinced all 5 of these guys, I'm just parroting what Dan said, all 5 of these quarterbacks will be good quarterbacks at the collegiate level. They just won't all be here at Ohio State. But I'm even Lincoln Keenholz, I shouldn't say even Lincoln Keenholz, this kid is as natural an athlete as you can find. He's going to be a good starting quarterback somewhere if it's not here. And I'm not ruling out any of these guys will be the starting quarterback here. Aaron Noland is going to be a good starting quarterback. I mean, he looks good out there. He's so smooth. He's so smooth. So, John, let's kick it off with this. He wants to know about Aaron Noland and will he redshirt? I mean, he'll probably play in 4 games or less. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think they're really – so I think, yeah, he probably will redshirt. And then that gives him 4 years if he does. If he sticks around for Ohio State or if he transfers. Yeah, I think he will redshirt. I'm guessing he'll see the field. But, again, I like what Dan said. I think all 4 of these guys are going to end up having good collegiate careers. We'll just see how many of them will be here. I'll guess for you. I think it's going to be Will Howard this year, Julian Sand next year. And then maybe after that, after Julian Sand, maybe it'll be Tavian St. Clair. Just a guess. Nothing against those other guys. You guys know I'm glad all 5 of those guys are here. It's a good question from John. Appreciate that. Yeah, I agree. Ross on YouTube says Aaron Noland will be the scout team quarterback. True, along with Lincoln Keenholz. That's two pretty good scout team quarterbacks. And you got Mason Maggs, who can throw it a little bit and, can run it like a fullback, almost like a little small. Oh, Mason's big dude. He's 6'2", 220. It's still not as big as Tebow. He's a little smaller version of Tebow. I'm giving him a little too much props there, but I like Mason Maggs, that walk-on quarterback. Dad was a former player at Ohio State. So, yeah, I think Aaron's going to be the scout team quarterback along with Lincoln is my guess, because you're really going to have, your third quarterback, which will probably be Julian Sand's, going to be with the varsity, so to speak. And you're going to have 2 guys plus the walk-ons that are going to be doing the scout team. All right, let's get to this. Tom, I really like this question. I wasn't thinking about even this topic at all. I was going to just go knee-deep on all things Ohio State. I really like this, though. With the rule changes on shorter time last year, and then this year with the 2-minute warning being installed, which I love, I said, if you're going to do this stuff where you're going to take away the long-time college rule where you're stopping, you don't stop the clock after a first down, then you have to do a 2-minute warning. It doesn't make any sense because they're reasoning, well, they don't do it in the NFL. Well, they do a 2-minute warning in the NFL, and now college football has a 2-minute warning. I like that. So Tom's question is, with these new rule changes, what other changes do you see coming in the future? Before I get to the one I see coming in the future, also want to mention, I think you know this, Tom, another big rule change this year is helmet communications, a.k.a. the Connor Stallions rule, where, again, taking a page out of the NFL's book, now the head coach can just tell the quarterback what the play is. Okay, you also can have defensive coordinator can tell, the linebacker, presuming for Ohio State would be Cody Simon. Perhaps it'd be a safety like a Lathan Ransom or a Caleb Downs, but I think you want your middle linebacker making the calls. So probably Cody Simon. So helmet communications, that's a big one too. Connor Stallions rule. What other changes do I see coming in the future? The big one is, maybe this is more of a hope, but I did ask Bill Carrillo, Big Ten lead of officials, this at Big Ten Media Days, like some of the smaller professional leagues, like it used to be the XFL and the USFL, now they combine to the UFL. They do something really cool where if there is a replay, you can hear all of the communications between the replay official, field official, and now they have a command center. Now the Big Ten's not outsourcing their command center like they used to. They have their own command center in Chicago, the Big Ten offices. So they have their command center, which will have the final call. You have the replay official up in the booth, and you have the field official. I think it's coming where you're going to hear, and Bill Carrillo admitted, like, it's probably more for TV, than that he thinks now the system will be, because, college football replay has been an absolute disaster. Our two biggest examples following Ohio State, 2019 Fiesta Bowl against Clemson, absolute disaster. That was a touchdown, fumble return for a touchdown any way you look at it. Dude took 3 steps, never lost control of the ball, 3 steps, got knocked out, returned for a touchdown, called a touchdown on the field, and somehow gets reversed. It's unbelievable. And then Marvin getting knocked out, correctly called targeting, and then they on the field and they reverse that. Unbelievable. So 2022 Peach Bowl and 2019 Fiesta Bowl, Ohio State fans know very well that replay has been a joke. And I would have loved to heard, when we have liked to hear, have full disclosure, full transparency, hearing what was going on with the replay official and the command center and the field official. Be nice. Full transparency is always a good thing, my friends. Otherwise, what are you hiding? What are you hiding, right? It's like when Sharon Moore deleted all those text messages. What are you hiding? The very day that the news breaks, by the way. It wasn't like, I better, I haven't talked to Connor in a while, I'm just going to delete these. The day the news broke from Pete Thamel, that the Connor Stallions news last October, is the day Sharon Moore deleted all those texts. Goodness gracious. All right, let's get to a few more things here. Actually, I need to do a quick read, and then we'll get back to Ohio State football. If I was at practice right now, I'd be wearing my Gooder sunglasses. Operation Blackout. You guys know I like these. The ladies like the Amelia Earhart Ghosted Me. They look great. So that's their #1 selling sunglasses for women. Amelia Earhart Ghosted Me. Again, I love Operation Blackout for the men. Heck, hey, the women too. I don't know. And I'm going to tell you guys about a great deal you guys can get from Gooder sunglasses. And what I love is, they started just $25 a pair. No slip, no bounce, fully polarized. And if you lose them, like I might have lost one of these recently. If you lose them, you're out 25, maybe $30 at the most. And then you just buy another pair or two. I bought 2 pair. This way, if I lose them again, I got a backup. So there you go. Their new retro launch, the newest product launch for Gooder is the Retro G. So check out the Retro G. And my favorite name there is Threaten Me with a Good Time. They've got 4 new retro shades, and one of them is Threaten Me with a Good Time. Threaten Me with a Good Time. I love that. If you want to support our show and try a pair, Gooder is giving Bucknuts Morning 5 listeners free shipping. You can go to gooder.com/Bucknuts. Use code Bucknuts for free shipping. Gooder offers 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Again, that's gooder.com/Bucknuts. Use code Bucknuts for free shipping. There we go. All right. Right guard. I feel like I buried the lead. We're talking about stuff like quarterbacks and the stuff that doesn't matter, like quarterbacks. I'm kidding. But right guard to me is now the most interesting position battle in camp because I think we know who the quarterback is. I think we know who will linebacker is, although C.J. Hicks is going to play a ton. He's the best blitzer on the team. So it's almost like a Brandon Ennis situation where Brandon Ennis might not technically be a starting wide receiver, but he's going to be the number 4 receiver, and he's going to play a ton. And then he's one injury away from being in that top 3 and being a starter. But if you're in the top 4, you're going to play a lot. Ennis will be in the top 4. Hicks is similar. He might be technically a backup behind Sonny Styles. I do think Sonny will be the starter, but Hicks is going to play a ton. So to me, right guard is now the most interesting position battle for sure. And, I go back and forth on it because I do like the fact that Carson Hinsman has 12 starts under his belt at the collegiate level here at Ohio State. Man, that's big. Yeah, it was at center, but still, he started 12 games at center as a redshirt freshman. And Shabola barely saw the field as a redshirt freshman last year. So, but Tegra, as I always say, looks like he's straight out of central casting for an NFL right guard or right tackle, either one. He's been repping just at guard as far as I know, has not been repping at any tackle. Okay, here's where I'm at now. So Hinsman's missed a decent amount of practices with the stomach bug. Tegra seems to look pretty good. He's entering his 3rd year. I'm going with Tegra, but I am thrilled Carson Hinsman's on this team. I still think there's a good chance he's going to win that right guard job. And it's one of those situations where whoever wins it for the opener, you don't get the guarantee that you have it for the rest of the year. You could get outplayed. Obviously, injuries could arise. Here's the deal with Carson Hinsman. He's either going to be the starting right guard, or if he's not, he'll be the top backup guard and the top backup center. He'll be the number 6 guy and with 12 starts under his belt. So that's a very interesting one to me. Who's going to be the right guard? And then who's going to fill out the depth beyond that? Let's say Hinsman is your super backup. He's the number 1 guard, number 1 center. Who can be that number 1 tackle? Can it be Luke Montgomery? He's been playing all over the line. He's played a little center when Hinsman's been out. He's played some guard. He can play tackle. I mean, Luke Montgomery played a decent amount as a true freshman last year. He was basically their 6th offensive lineman ahead of Tegra. When they went to that jumbo package, they call it the Bison. It would be Luke Montgomery that would go in the game, not Tegra. So, so there you go. One more. So, yeah, I'm very interested in that, but I'm going to say Tegra will trot out there with the starters against Akron. But that doesn't mean he's going to be a starter all year long. But a 6'6", 330-pound dude that moves like that and is strong and athletic, I mean, you just can't teach that. So we'll see what happens. Kyle on the Book of Face. What are my thoughts on tight end? Who is tight end number 1? I think G. Scott Jr. is going to be the starter. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But it's a good group, and, they complement each other well. So I think G is going to be the starter. Obviously was one of the top 10 wide receiver recruits in the country coming out in the class of 2000, now entering his 5th year. Came in about 210 pounds, all the way up to 243. Now played tight end for, I think at least this is his 3rd year playing tight end for the Buckeyes. So the 5th year senior, he'll be the starter. And if he can be a good blocker, solid blocker, he doesn't need to be the best blocker ever, although that wouldn't suck at all. If he can just be a solid blocker, he's going to be a problem because he's going to be effective in the passing game, especially with Chip Kelly doing what he does. So, but he cannot be a liability as a blocker, and I don't think he will be. He's a tough kid. It's just, getting that technique down. He's strong. Obviously, 243 is not your biggest tight end, but G looks ripped. So he's been putting in the work in the weight room. And then after that, I think Will Kazmarek then is your more traditional Ohio State tight end, 6'6", 260, glorified, 3rd offensive tackle that you put in there that's mainly a blocker, but can slip out there and catch the ball. He had over 20 receptions at Ohio University last year, maybe each of the last 2 years. So he can catch the ball, more of that traditional Ohio State tight end, not a lot of burst, decent straight line speed for Kazmarek, but not a lot of explosion. But once he gets going, he can move. Big dude, blocker, can catch the ball a little bit. Jelani Thurman's the guy with just dripping with talent. Can he put it all together? Can he be consistent? The coaches always use that word with Jelani, consistency. And then again, so you can see why these guys, they all kind of have their own thing. They all have their strengths and certain things that they do well that maybe other guys don't. Pat Gird's a great example of this. Walk-on Pat Gird still has 2 years of eligibility left. He's listed as a senior, but he's got 2 years left. I believe he's on scholarship now. He was a walk-on. He's more of that fullback type. like Mitch Rossi was. So they all do something different. Gird's like 6'4", 250. He's more of that fullback, who maybe they can slip out, like an H-back, like a Daryl Johnston, Moose Johnston for the back for the Cowboys, slip him out of the backfield every once in a while. I'm sure Gird would not mind that. Another guy whose dad played for the Buckeyes. So like that. So there you go. They're pretty deep. They also, I think Bennett Christian will see the field. He obviously had to sit out last year with the suspension. He'll be a third-year sophomore. He's a big boy. Another guy's like 6'5", 6'6", 260. So entering his third year. He's out there a lot. He rotates in a lot with the second team when we're out there. So Bennett Christian's another guy. So they got 5 guys that I think they feel pretty good about in that tight end room. Again, I touched on this earlier, but who's going to be the return men? I'm really curious about that. And there's so much to talk to about. This is why I need to get a one-on-one with Ryan Day and really just sift through all of these questions that we all have, right? Can see if Jerry can make that happen for me. Again, if you guys are just joining us, Ryan Day today at 11:30, that's coming up over at the WAC. And then as soon as we get done with Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, Jim Knowles. That's a fun day on the beat right there. It's a fun day on the beat. And I want to know stuff like who's going to be, when we talk to Coach Day, I want to know who's going to be the return men. As I said earlier, if you had a game right now, who's going to be your punt returner? Who's your kickoff returner? Who's your punter? I've had people ask me who's going to be the kicker. It's going to be Jaden Fielding. I think he'll be pretty good. He was solid last year. He was good as a true freshman being a kickoff specialist. I thought he was solid, not good, not great, solid last year as the place kicker. I think now as a junior, all that experience under his belt, full year as the place kicker, played a lot the last 2 years, including his duties as the kickoff guy. I think now as a junior, Jaden Fielding is going to have a good year. I really do. All right. Well, I got to get the show up. Got to get over to Ohio State in a little bit. Appreciate you guys joining me. I do have one more read to end the show, but I want to let you guys know that's it for Ohio State football for today. Check out Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, Jim Knowles, all that good stuff we're going to have on Bucknuts. Get on bucknuts.com. We also have all of Bill Kurlick's recruiting stuff. I still have my 2 deep projection up there. You guys can go see my projection for Ohio State's 2 deep, and you can laugh at me if you think it's terrible. It's fine. It's fine. As long as you read the story, I'm okay with that. Really, I appreciate you guys, though. Big audience here. Thank you to our live audience. Thanks to everybody who's listening to the audio-only version of the show. Thanks to all of you. I know you have a ton of options in the Buckeye podcast world. I'm sure you guys take advantage of a lot of those options, but I appreciate you guys making the Bucknuts Morning 5 a part of your routine. Couldn't thank you guys enough. All right. So with that, if you'd like to bow out now, I will see you guys tomorrow with J-Book. If you're still with me, you need to know about Joy Mode. I mean, it's leading to engagements, marriages, children. I mean, good things for the future of our country. I mean, just ask my good friend and colleague, Patrick Murphy. I mean, he'll tell you Joy Mode led directly to his recent engagement. And I tell you, I mean, he outkicked his coverage because of Joy Mode. I think I speak for most men when I say we want to have better sex. And for the sake of our partner, we may need to have better sex. The issue is that over-the-counter pills contain unregulated chemicals, suggest unsafe doses, and include the risk of several other health problems. That doesn't sound good. That's why we partnered with our friends over at Joy Mode. Whether you're looking to spice up your intimate moments or just increase your confidence in the bedroom, Joy Mode makes all natural and science-backed supplements dedicated to helping men perform better across their core functions. All right, here's a good deal you guys can get. Go to usejoymode.com/bucknuts and get 20% off with code Bucknuts at checkout. That's 20% off and free shipping with code Bucknuts at usejoymode.com/Bucknuts. Great sex solved naturally. All right, thank you guys very much for joining me. Again, keep it locked to Bucknuts. Big day on the Ohio State football beat as we are Craig Krenzel days away from the season opener. Isn't that fun to say? Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, Jim Knowles, keep it locked to Bucknuts. Thanks again, my friends. Hope everyone has a great rest of your